What's going on, guys? Welcome to the YouTube channel. And today I want to talk about my largest client corporate event to date. It's exciting. There's lots of information, and I can't wait to get into it. But first, once again, guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Scott King. I run a DJ company over here in Orlando, Florida, www.djsorlando.com, where I've had continued success from 2020, and it's just been an exciting journey. I also run a coaching business, www.coachscottking.com, where I teach how I was able to get this continued success through the use of NLP, hypnosis, and internet marketers. Now, if that is something that is exciting to you, make sure to join the Facebook group. Make sure to get on our email list. Ask questions. We have a lovely community inside the Facebook group. All right. So today, let's talk about my biggest client today, and it happens to be a corporate client. So I'm going to just touch on a few of the topics or the process that I went through while booking, staffing, and executing the show. There's so much to go over. So from the top, I wrote down a few things. So basically, up first was the sale, right? It's funny how this worked out because I was kind of burnt when the phone call came in, and then I handed the phone to the wife when the phone was ringing, and it actually worked out pretty good. Wife, I have as an assistant, paid assistant, and she answered the phone, and then realized that what the client wanted was a little bit beyond what we normally do. So she's like, "Oh, you're going to have to take this call." So I took the call with the end client, and they were telling me that they were going to run a conference. So how many hats do you wear? And then how fast can you shift to that frame of mind when somebody tells you what they're looking to do? Because, when you do smaller events like Sweet 16s and you're doing weddings all the time, and then someone calls you like a whale calls you, and you're like, "Oh, well, we got to switch gears. Now we're in this track," right? So this client started telling me the things that they were looking to do. Basically, it was a conference, right? So they needed microphones for panelists. They needed lighting and MC work for their cosplay contest. They needed, a party at the end of the night, and they were having, 600 to 700 people, and the show was pretty much booked solid, right? They were sold out, and they had all these different things that they needed to put together in order to, execute what they were planning to do for their conference. So basically, I got on my software really quick and explained all the different services. And then on top of that, you also have to convince the client that you're capable of doing the job, which we did a conference a couple months ago that was called HauntCon. So basically, we went to Daytona and we provided AV for bands, DJ for their end of night party, and I had some pictures that I could show this client, and then they were convinced that I was the one for the job, on top of being very knowledgeable about the services that I had and what they were looking to accomplish. So with that in mind, I was able to get the sale, and there was a few adjustments that went along the way when we sent the initial bid. The initial bid was for many different rooms. They needed speakers. And then I was asking questions like, do these speakers have to be connected? And then that bid was pretty high. And then I say high, I mean, it was probably like 20,000, something like that. And then they went through and were able to fine tune the services that they needed. And they were, of course, doing budgeting as well. So they had knocked it down and then said they would add things on later down the line. So anyway, we got the sale. And from there was a bunch of hurdles and challenges that we were able to overcome, and we took on some extra responsibility. So basically, again, my wife was more in constant contact with the end client, and then we found out that more paperwork needed to be done. Now, when I say more paperwork, a lot more paperwork needed to be done. So from my understanding is that when you're on Disney property, these hotels used to be run by a government body that was owned by Disney called Reedy Creek. So our company has always been registered with Reedy Creek. And since the debacle with this DeSantis and Disney, I think DeSantis got rid of Reedy Creek's government. Now, I don't know anything about politics, Yet we had to re-register with another government body agency that's now the government instead of Disney's government, which is called oversight. So when this came across the desk, it was quite intense of all the different types of paperwork that we had to do. So basically, we went to the bank and had to notarize who we were. And then we also had to go to two different government buildings to get more paperwork. I guess in order to do the services that we were providing, we needed a tax receipt for number one, the city of Orlando, which was one building. And you had to fill out that paperwork, and there was a $30-40 charge to be registered with a tax receipt for the city of Orlando. And then on top of that, because the hotel was in Orange County, we had to get a separate tax receipt for Orange County. So because this corporate client planned with plenty of time, we were able to, go to the government buildings and you get the proper paperwork. Now, that was a challenge in its own because I don't know if you've been to a government building lately, but there's a long waiting list. or you go to this building and you're spending a lot of time inside this building, waiting for your number to be called. It reminded me of like Beetlejuice. But the guy was like dead by the time he got to the door. Anyway, that was something that we experienced, but I would do anything that I needed to do for this client because it was pretty important. It was a big sale for me. It was one of my biggest ones. And if you're going to, take on these types of clients, you got to, put on your big boy pants and do what needs to be done for that need for whatever needs to happen. So we got the paperwork, we got registered. And then on top of that, oversight, again, the company that we're working for or the government body that oversees everything had to submit floor plans for all the structural designs or all the structural pieces that were going into each room. Now, this hotel and this conference had many different rooms with many different structural floor plans. So the scheduling part, once we figured out the floor plans, we were able to schedule the crew. So basically, the first day was Thursday, and they were having a karaoke party. Basically, when guests buy tickets, there's different tiers of tickets that they buy, and being a higher ticket price, they were able to get into the karaoke room, which is what we provided for the first night. And that was something like, a couple hours, 7 to 10. So basically, we had to turn around and be into another room for panelists that started at 9:30 in the morning. We lucked out because my team was there doing karaoke. We just went to the next room and set that room, kind of placed the speakers where they needed to go. And then we had to wait for the staging crew to set the stage so that we can finalize where the speakers were going to be. And on top of that, even though I have a lot of audio knowledge because I went to Full Sail, I was also being, manager, business owner, liaison with the client, wearing many different hats in order to pull this show off. I decided that I was going to hire an audio tech. Now, the first audio tech that I decided to hire, said that he wasn't available and he passed on to a buddy of his and said the guy was well qualified. So the first audio tech that I had told me that, he liked working with a Behringer X32. So I went on Facebook and I spent $1,200 and I got a Behringer X32. And then because this person passed on a buddy of his, I started talking to the guy and he didn't know how to work an X32, which I just assumed he did because the first guy said that this guy was qualified. So I started asking these guys some questions. And of course, because he was insecure about his capabilities of being able to work something like this, he decided to let that gig go. And he let that gig go a week before the show. And of course, I was a little bit disappointed, but I hopped on the phone and I found somebody else. So no harm, no foul. I actually found somebody who does these things regularly. So there you go. So again, we did the karaoke night, turned around, flipped the room, me, Dion, and then Lewis, and then he did all the frequency switches to make sure the microphones were all on their same channel. Of course, I had a stack of batteries so that we could, get through the day because, these microphones use up battery juice. Anyway, checklist of all the different things that you need. And then, we were able to get through the panelists the next morning, right? And then we had a cosplay contest that night. So we had two different, sets of speakers because we're going to leave that system in there for the panelists for the second day because there was 2 days of panelists, and we just took a different system to another room and then ran a cosplay contest, which turned into a DJ party and ended up being pretty good, and that ended late at night. So me, 11 o'clock, I get home, and yet Saturday, oh yeah, Saturday is the big day. So that included, these lights and a whole bunch of other things. So I took my second van and then loaded that show, got to the panelists 8:30 in the morning, 1 hour before they start, changed out the microphones, or switched out the batteries in the microphones, and then ran that panelist show. And then the audio tech came in and then ran the show, where I was able to go and answer emails and, do sales and all that fun stuff. And that was an all-day event, right? It went from 9:30 in the morning till 3 o'clock. And then when that 3 o'clock closed, I had well, 8 people to flip the room, because we were in a room and then the air walls were going down. And on top of that, I had a light tech that was running a light show. And then he also had certain types of lights to light up acrobatic acts. And they also had a burlesque show. And we were running, the microphones for the MCs and that kind of thing. So with that in mind, we had 8 people to flip the room. And then on top of that, we were waiting for the hotel to move chairs around. So I was like, just told my team to move the chairs so we could get things where we needed to go. And we kind of set things in place, because we couldn't actually, plug cords in and stuff, because we were waiting for the dance floor to be dropped. So because we had so many people, things were constantly moving. And then of course I'm kind of directing and giving people ideas of what their next task should be. And it was a constant go for like 3 days, basically 4 hours of sleep each day in order to pull this off. And it's all worth it in the end, because the client is like floored. So with that in mind, that's just a few things to keep in mind when on your adventure, that you would want to prepare for. And then ask yourself where your knowledge is, right? So even though I had a bunch of audio knowledge, I decided that I didn't have enough shows under my belt or wanted to take on that responsibility. So I hired an audio tech to help me out with that side of things. And then, I have I have little light knowledge. So I hired a light tech to handle the light stuff. And then I ended up being, manager, business owner, and just kind of giving the guys the floor plans. And then it's also because I have systems in play. They all had links to wherever the information that they needed, and to be in constant contact with the team. So with that in mind, thank you guys for checking out the channel. Those are just a few of the hurdles that we had to go through, and we executed. And it felt really warming for Dion to say, I'm so glad the whole team came together to make this happen. And it really was kind of flawless, because we were able to be efficient. Now, my friend Stone says being efficient is more than just doing the job correctly. It's being able to do the job no matter what hurdles come in front of you. And it is quite an accomplishment to see the growth of where I started, and with all my experience, to be able to execute this and have a happy client, on top of dealing with personalities for shows like acrobats and burlesque shows, on top of dealing with clients, on top of being managing the staff, DJing the show, running an intelligent light show, having my light tech run lights for the acts, and making the room blink with up lights. And then we added a wall texture on one corner. We were supposed to do the whole wall, ended up not having enough light to do the whole wall, because he was telling me that they have to laser in a stencil, and they couldn't get it to us in the time frame that we needed it for it to be on show site. It wasn't a huge deal, because I kind of threw that in as a bonus, and it wasn't a big deal for my light guy to throw up a few Lecos to make the wall look a certain way. And going forward, we're going to write down all the different things that we can improve on, and even bring a better show next time. Because once you land a corporate client, they'll be back year after year after year. I mean, why change things if things were happy the way they were? So a couple things to keep in mind. Guys, make sure to check out the video after this clip. And if you want to learn more about how to grow your business, www.coachscottking.com. Thanks for tuning in, and check out these videos. All right. Bye.
What's going on, guys? Day 3, we're having the blowout party over here with Fabled Fantasies King Entertainment Events. Did the production. We did about 8 mics and panelists, and we did karaoke. We had cosplay contest, whole bunch of things. But right now, I had my entire team, almost my entire team, like 8 people were out here setting up for the show, for the blowout party at Fabled Fantasies, and super excited about it. There's going to be a burlesque show and a few other things happening as well. Of course, I'll be DJing, and I don't know. It was like a 3-hour setup with like 8 people. Got Phil over here. Boom. What's up? Oh boy, that's right. And still keeping the hair the way it's going, but check it out. I'll let you see the room. Got some truss over here. DJ setup. Some more truss. Michelle's on the photo booth over there. We got the whole room, and we also did some textured lighting on the back wall right there. Oh, let's not forget the Twilight drape. Let's go ahead and check that out as well. Twilight drape over here. Boom. Oh boy, it's gonna be a party today. Check that out. Boom. Exciting, exciting. So as far as sound goes, I think the neighbors are gonna start complaining because we brought some sound. Oh my goodness. All right, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, King Entertainment Events, DJsorlando.com. Of course, I have a coaching business, www.coachscottking.com. And oh boy, it's about to go down.